We're recording. Hey, Chris, how you going?
Hi.
And we've got Keith here too, which is awesome. There's two of you here. So I'm actually going live on Facebook as well in our Healing Little You group. Are you both a part of the Healing Little You group?
I believe I am, yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to check and make sure that it's working in there.
Hi.
Yep, it's
Hi,
working. All right, I'm just going to turn this down. Alrighty. Okay, so welcome to today's masterclass. I just want to let you know I've got a bit of a sore throat. So if you see me muting myself, it's to cough, so I don't cough in your ear. So I'm just going to go really slowly with this. So welcome to the Healing Little You group as well. I've got you on my phone, so if you're jumping on, just let me know you're here. There's a few people in there jumping on as well. So let's get started. So just give me a second while I share my screen with you. So if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, please grab one now, because we are going to be going through defenses. I'm just going to mute you as well. Just keep yourself on mute unless you have any questions. I know that Keith and Chris, you've both been to my other webinars, so it's going to be very similar. You know, you're going to hear my introduction spiel again, so I do apologize for that, but just bear with me. All right, so let's do this. Okay. Alrighty, so as I mentioned, welcome to today's webinar, which is all about defenses. And defenses is a really, really big one, because there are so many ways that we defend ourselves that are often unconscious as well. Okay, so as I always say, the quickest way to transform something in your life is to create awareness. The more self-awareness you create, the quicker you transform. So I'm curious to know where you're tuning in from. I know both Keith and Chris are from America, but if you're on Facebook, just drop a little comment and let me know where you are tuning in from. I'm always curious to know. I'm always, you know, hearing people say they're from different parts of the world, and it shocks me sometimes, because I'm like, wow, I'm reaching people in all these different places. So it's really good. So if you aren't already a part of the Healing Little You group, please join. And also, if you feel safe to, if there's anybody that you feel could benefit from joining the Healing Little You group, as long as you feel safe to invite them, please invite them to join. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Anthea, and I'm a soul-centered psychotherapist, a kinesiologist, an energy healer, and a workshop facilitator. And I started doing this work about 5 years ago. I'm also the proud mum of Olivia and Sophie. They are my little angels and my little teachers. And, you know, this kind of work really began because of them. Yeah, that they were both catalysts for me that drove me deep into my own shadow, drove me deep into having multiple dark nights of the soul, and learning how to be a bigger and better version of myself. So for those of you who don't know, 5 years ago, my face collapsed after giving birth to my second daughter, Sophie. So it was the left side of my face. I woke up in the middle of the night to feed Sophie, and what I'd noticed was that my whole left side was drooped, and I thought I'd had a stroke, but it was a condition called Bell's palsy. And it really was the scariest time of my life, because I was told that I had to go rule out brain tumors. You know, and it was in that moment when I was told, you're going to have to go rule out brain tumors. Sometimes brain tumors can cause this type of paralysis. I started to think about dying. I thought, oh my God, if I have brain cancer, yes, I will fight it, but there's a very good, strong chance that I won't win. And I didn't know anyone who had brain cancer that had survived. So I was mortified, and I started thinking about who was going to look after my kids, you know, when I died. And when I got the all clear from the MRI, and I was told, you know what, it's all good, you don't have brain cancer, but we can't actually tell you what caused it, because we don't do this type of testing here. I knew that this condition was a blessing And it was far better than having brain cancer, right? So I knew that this condition had come in to teach me a really powerful lesson. And I remember hearing stories of people who had gone through the most traumatic time in their life and overcoming it and learning and having major transformation from it. And I was like, I guess this is my time. Yeah. So it was intense. It was brutal, yeah. And what I realized that I was completely lost, and my physical body, it had had enough of my bullshit. Yeah, it had had enough of me suppressing my emotions, attacking myself, not taking really good care of myself. And so I felt trapped. I felt completely like I had placed myself inside of this inescapable cage that I wasn't quite sure how I was gonna get out of, but I was gonna damn well try and do my very best to get out of this cage. And the thing that kind of drove me to go deep into my own healing was my daughter Olivia. She was 20 months at the time that I got sick, and she used to come up to me and she'd stroke my paralyzed face, and she'd say to me, "Oh, mama," and the look that she would give me was like, "What have you done to yourself?" It was literally like she was going, "I'm curious, how could you let yourself get to this place? How could you allow yourself to get here?" And then what she started doing was she started only talking with half of her mouth, smiling with half of her mouth, and she was copying everything I did. Right? Just like she'd copy how I'd talk on the phone and how I'd walk. And because that's what kids do, they're looking to us like we're gods. And I knew that if I didn't change my destructive ways, that she was going to go down the same path of me. My life hadn't been easy. I was teased at school. I never loved myself. I always had low self esteem and low confidence, and I would experience these really horrific things. And so I knew that if I didn't change so that I could be a better role model for her, she was going to follow in my footsteps. And there was no way in hell I was going to let that happen. Right. And I still do the work every single day because I have these little eyes watching my every move. And I'm not perfect. I have my moments, right? But I continuously do the work because I want to continue to keep unfolding and becoming a bigger and better version of myself. Okay. So, when I started to look at, like I did my research, and I really tried to understand how I physically got sick, right? But it was quite hard because I didn't have any testing done. But there were things that my obstetrician told me to do, which I didn't want to do, but out of fear, I went ahead and did it, which led to me getting really sick before giving birth. Okay. And because I was really sick and my immune system was down, and then I went and had a cesarean, it was really obvious that my body just wasn't coping. But when I looked at the emotional side of things, this is what I uncovered. And it was brutal. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was looking at all of these things, and I was judging myself, and I was like, Jesus, Anthea, that is such ugly behavior. So I would suppress my emotions because the truth is I didn't really know how to express them. I didn't know how to release them. No one had ever taught me how to deal with my own anger. Okay. I'd get triggered by everything and everyone. Yeah, so if things weren't going right, if I had to keep stopping at red lights or whatever, I get frustrated and I crack it, right? And it's like this little ticking time bomb. I allowed people to take advantage of me. So, I had no boundaries because I was a people pleaser. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to fit in. Yeah, I didn't ask for what I wanted because I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to use my voice. I only learnt how to start using my voice in a powerful way when I was 35. Yeah. When I got sick, I was angry at myself for all of the stupid mistakes I had made in my life and all of the things I didn't do and all of the things I'd missed out on. And I was angry at my husband and my mum, and I was super defensive. Yeah. I was the most defensive person I had ever met. Other than my brother, I was right up there with him. I was a massive overthinker. I was judgmental of myself and others, which was a very powerful program that I was conditioned with growing up in a Greek household. You know, the Greeks are very judgmental of others. Yeah. Because they don't have that emotional maturity to go deep within and look at their own behavior. Again, no one taught them how to do that. And they were conditioned with judgment too. And I was a massive victim. I was the queen of victim mentality. You know, everything was, why is this happening to me? Why is my husband treating me like that? How could my friend do this to me? It was, I was the victim in every story. Yeah. And my heart was closed. So when I looked back on how I was living emotionally, I was like, no wonder you got sick. Thank your lucky stars that it wasn't worse, that it wasn't brain cancer. You took advantage of the fact that you could blink and smile, and now you are here. And so after I got over the initial judgment of myself, I started to think, okay, well, now how am I going to change this? Yeah. How am I going to forgive myself so I can move on and get better and live a different life? So I remember when I was 15, I had read the book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And I'd read Wayne Dyer's books, and I'd really started going into personal development and spirituality and working with the angels through angel cards. And I remember hearing Louise Hay's voice in my head going, you can heal your life. You can heal your life. So I started to visualize myself healed, smiling in photos with my kids. Yeah. And I started to really practice that every single day consistently. I'd never done anything so consistently before in my life. And where there was an immense amount of fear creeping in, I knew that I had to keep going. I couldn't listen to the fear, right? I just had to stop listening to that goddamn fear because I knew it was always going to be there, but I had to keep going. Right. And that's what I did. I smashed my mindset. I really started to do this deep mindset work to change the way I would think. I started shifting my perspectives around the way I was viewing situations and experiences. I put my hand up and I started asking for support. And I had to learn how to receive because, I was always the giver. I didn't know how to receive. And in doing that, it made me a better giver. And I had to really start taking responsibility for my life and how I got here. And I also did a lot of inner child healing work. I actually fell into the inner child healing work. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't know it was a thing until I started really, really going deep within myself. So I'd literally, as I'd come out of that and I'd realized that I had convinced myself that I could heal, I was like, holy shit, this is how powerful our mind is. Yeah, I was like, I have to help people. I have to help other people understand that they can heal their life too, that it doesn't matter what condition they have, they can heal. Yeah. And I started listening to Joe Dispenza, and he'd broken his back and he had healed himself using the same methods. And there's multiple other people who you will hear stories of them being completely disabled and they heal from it. So it's like, okay, this is profound stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to all of the people who have Bell's palsy and I'm going to help them heal. And so I had created this closed Facebook group for people in Australia who had Bell's palsy because I was looking for support, right? And I wanted to support others too. And I started offering my services for free. And I started to talk to people about how I had healed. But unfortunately, nobody wanted my help. And I didn't understand why. Okay. I didn't understand why these people who were so sick with Bell's palsy didn't want my help. And so then I thought, okay, it was because I was essentially judging them. I was saying, you're broken and I know how to fix you. So here I'm gonna give you everything I know, right? And what that did is it pushed them all away. And when I understood that, right, I knew that I had to change my approach. And so I started to just work with people who wanted support. And I realized that you can't actually help anyone unless they want your help. And that was the hardest pill to swallow, because I wanted to save my dad and my mom and my husband and all these people around me who I could see were in pain, right? Which helped me understand their behavior even more. So everything that I do today and everything that I teach my clients today is a combination of the last 24 years of all the work that I have done. And today I want to talk to you about defenses and how your defenses keep you trapped, just like this picture here. Okay. So this guy here, he's in a jar, and the glass around him is layers of defenses. Yeah. So they're layers that keep you protected, yes. They keep you safe. They don't prevent you from feeling, they don't prevent you from getting angry and things like that, but they keep people out as well. And that's what defenses are designed to do. Okay. So these are the different types of defenses that we have. And I'd like for you to, if there's any more that you can think of, I'd like for you to just type it in the comments as we move along here. So judging others is a defense mechanism, because when we judge, we're getting triggered by someone or something. And instead of us going in and looking within us and going, oh, what's this trigger about? We're deflecting it out. So we're defending ourselves from feeling and healing and like dealing with whatever's going on for us. Reacting is also a defense mechanism. Going silent, shutting down, right, where you don't talk, that's also a defense mechanism that usually comes from the teenage years. Building walls around you, yeah, like keeping people at arm's length because perhaps they may try to get close to you and be intimate with you, right? So building walls, keeping people at arm's length means I don't have to get vulnerable. I can just defend myself, yeah? That's safer. Attacking others, also attacking yourself. These are all defense mechanisms. They actually stop you from dropping into your heart, yeah? Because you can't be in your heart. When you're in your heart, you're not attacking anyone, yeah? You can't be reactive when you're in your heart. When you're in your heart, you're just allowing and you're accepting. And if people come past you and they're being dramatic, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on for them right now, right? But being dramatic is also another defense mechanism. Having high expectations of others and yourself is also a defense mechanism. Not loving. When we don't love, right? When we block off love, giving and receiving, we're protecting our heart. When we suppress our emotions. And one of the biggest ones today is when we isolate ourselves. It is by far the biggest defense mechanism. I'm safe in my home. I'm going to hide behind my screen. Yeah. I can talk to people through my screen, but I'm going to hide it. Someone's just saying addiction. Addiction, yes, is a defense mechanism. I mean, addictions, often people have addictions because they're trying to cover up their pain. They're trying not to feel their pain. So yes, addiction absolutely is one. Thank you for that one, Lee. So there's so many defense mechanisms that we have that until we go in and we start doing that inner work, it's really hard to be aware of it. But the good thing is the more you do the inner work, and it doesn't have to be intense and it doesn't have to be, like every single day, but the more you explore and you learn to love and understand yourself better, the more aware of it you will be as you move through your journey. So something will happen, you might get defensive and you're like, oh, there it is. That's interesting. Why am I defensive towards that person? Why did I just shut them off? Yeah, and that's how you continue to move through it. So let's talk about triggers again, right? This old topic about triggers. and why we react, because this is a big defense mechanism too. And really what this defense mechanism is telling us when we get angry or we yell at someone or we get angry at ourselves is that there's a part of us that needs healing. Yeah. And the reason we react, and this is where the little you comes in, is because you have younger parts of you that have unresolved issues. Yeah. And like I keep talking about this house, you got to imagine that you have this house, and inside of the house are hundreds of rooms. And behind each door, there's a younger version of you who has unresolved issues, who is hurt, who is sad, who is heartbroken, who is angry, who feels attacked. And when you get triggered by someone or something, you create this vortex, and they kick that door open, they come in, they overpower you, and they take over. And that's where you feel out of control. That's where you say and do things that you can't take back later. You say and you attack people and it does damage. And then later, when everything calms down, they go back into their room and you are left feeling like you could have handled that better. Okay? So when these things happen, it's really important for you to, instead of attacking yourself, to go, okay, I don't like the way I did that. That was ugly to me. I don't actually want to do that anymore. So I'm going to actually go within and look at what I can do to heal that part of me. Yeah. And the more you do that, the less you will react. The more in control you will be in those moments where you get triggered. And you will get to that place if you just do that inner work. So you get to this place, you'll feel a trigger and you'll be like, okay, I'm going to walk away now before I let that part of me take over. Or ultimately, what can happen is you can get triggered and you can feel your blood boiling, but then you can calmly say, I'm just curious, why would you say something like that? Right? And this is where you go into becoming intimate with someone. Even in a heated moment, you can become intimate with someone. And it's an opportunity for you to understand them better and for them to understand you better. But that's the ultimate, right? Any questions so far before we go into the interactive part of the masterclass? No? Okay. So what I want you to do now is I want you to write down, is there anything you feel defensive about right now? So just give you a minute to do that. Anything at all you have felt defensive about in the last week? Think about your interactions with others. When you go get your coffee, say, from the coffee shop, are you open and expressive and good morning, how are you? Or are you more reserved and less talkative, like, hi, can I just order my coffee kind of thing? Yeah. Now, the coffee shop or somewhere you visit daily, whether it's the bakery or the supermarket or something, that's a great place to practice. Okay. That should be your learning school. That's what it should be, because it's with those people that you don't have any emotional investment with that you should practice being more open and authentic and making eye contact. And this is where you can begin to lower those defenses so you can see what it feels like. Okay? Because we think, and especially for those who are single and wanting love, we think, oh, when my perfect king or queen arrives, I'm just going to let it all go and I'm going to dive right in and it's going to be amazing. But the reality is unless you practice doing that every day with different people, lowering your defenses and being open, you are not going to know what it feels like to be open and vulnerable. Yeah, you're not going to be building that muscle. And so when the king or queen arrives and they're like, let's talk about this and let's talk about that, you might go, shit, run, right? Little you might freak out. So it's really important that you start practicing, right? Even with the coffee people. Smile at the other people who are waiting for their coffee. Have a chat with them. How are you today? Right? Because if you think about breaking out of your defenses and you're here, then it means that you want to. So it's really important to start doing that. Okay. So let's go on to the next question. Do you feel like someone is blaming you for something? Or have you felt like someone has blamed you for something? Yeah. In the last year or week or day, whatever, have you felt attacked in this way? Now, the reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm trying to trigger within you memories of the past that have caused you to become defensive in some way. These are your reference points to take your healing to the next level. These are your guides, your clues, the information you need to free yourself even more from your own cage, like how I did. Okay. And you might write down a list of people who blame you for things. Yeah? The reality is you're not responsible for anyone other than yourself and your own behavior. So if people are blaming you, they're not taking responsibility for their own behavior. Yeah? And this type of behavior, especially in childhood, can lead you to feel like you are not good enough. Yeah? I've done something wrong. I'm a bad person. And you've got to remember, as kids, we're really sensitive. I see it in my own daughter, Sophie. Sophie struggles to make friends. So sometimes she's super bossy, right? And she's naturally super bossy and it's quite cute. But other kids take that as a personal attack, can take it as a personal attack. And so when I try to sit down and I say to her, honey, you can't do that because it can upset other people, or it's, people may not want to do that. She takes it really personally. Yeah. And she's a Virgo too. And Virgos are super sensitive and they take things very personally. So I have to be really careful with her because sometimes she's gone, I'm a horrible person. I'm the worst person in the school. Right. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're a great person, but we're just learning here, okay? So you're going to be really, really think about yourself like Sophie being a kid. She took that really personally, right? Is there anyone from your past that you feel you had to protect yourself against? You had to protect yourself from growing up, even maybe today? Yeah? Even, and it could very well be those people who are meant to be closest to you, like your mum or your dad. Sometimes we protect ourselves from people who are compulsive liars, who have misled us, have been dishonest to us. Perhaps it was a teacher or a sibling. Is there anyone from now that you feel like you have to protect yourself from? Yeah? Perhaps you are dating or exploring friendships and wanting to go deeper with these people, but their actions or their behaviors are actually making you want to protect yourself rather than open up more. Their behaviors and actions are wanting you to defend, right? So whatever it is, really important to think about this, because everything ties in together, okay? Things from the past, how things are playing out currently today. Think of it like like a seed, right? So let's say somewhere in your heart, in your soul, there was a seed of defense planted. And so the roots start to grow and the seed starts to grow. Now, it grows into a tree, and the bigger the tree grows, the thicker the trunk gets. Yeah. It's all grown from that little seed. So that defense gets bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And then your experiences are a reflection of that tree. Okay. Now we can cut the tree down. We've got to understand the tree first. Yeah. We can't just get rid of our defenses. We really have to understand them first. So we don't feel naked and bare when that defense tree is gone, because essentially it is protecting us. And it does make us feel safe. But if we want to change our lives, we have to begin to break down this tree. Okay? Because it's no longer serving us, it's actually hindering us. Now, I want to ask you, is there fear present in your life around moving forward? Keith has a question. Yes, Keith?
Anthea, I think we we have to also consider that we have to not just cut down the tree, because the fundamental life of the tree is in the roots.
Absolutely. Yes. So we have to rip the tree out from the roots. Yep.
Well, not so much rip, but dig them out.
Dig them out.
If you've ever tried to remove a real tree, I'm a pretty big guy, but it doesn't work if I just use brute strength. I have to do a lot of digging, a lot of clearing out. Very literally getting my hands into, So it's not. It seems to me there seems to be a a combination of both the gentle yanking, but also the more delicate and tender move, disruption of the soil and exposure of the roots, so that when I do pull, it's much easier, because I've got to remember that the ground itself is so terribly important. I mean, that's literally upon which we stand, but not everything that's surrounded that bolus of roots is necessarily bad, or it needs to be removed.
Absolutely. And I love the way you describe that, because it's true. Like, you see so many trees that are, the big trees that are cut down, and they just leave the trunk, that bottom part of the trunk, they leave it there because it's too hard to pull out. And so it's just left there. But you're right, because it's, the way you describe that, and we're getting lots of love heart reactions on Facebook from your comments, Keith. It is with tenderness and love that we're going to remove that tree. Yeah. And it's when we look at the past, or when we look at our past behavior, like I was telling you in my story, we often go, God, how could I live like that? So ugly, so much judgment around self, right? But I didn't heal from judging myself and being brutal with myself. I healed with learning how to be tender with those parts of me that were ugly, right? And it was with love and acceptance that I could transform them. So I really love the way you describe that. Yes, Keith.
And I think that you just touched on the key element, is that if I somehow, even if it's just the faintest of glimmers, if I see and I react with love towards myself, that, as I learned throughout my life in different environments, is that it just doesn't stay small. It seems to have an exponential impact, that a wee bit of love has the roots that spread a great deal. I mean, when I gave a kid a break one time, when I could have arrested him and ruined his life, but something told me that just the mere instance of sitting in the back of a police car was enough. So I did not arrest him, but that's where it ended. I mean, I didn't take a purse, other than trusting my gut. But I wouldn't be surprised, because we never heard of that kid again. I mean, he was going down the wrong path, and we would have known eventually. But his name never came up again. So, but how did what I did have an impact? That isn't for me to worry about. I did my work, and if it had fruitful outcome, then that's all fine and well. But that was, I'm fond of saying of late, that was none of my business what happened after that. That was a seed I planted, so to speak. And if it grew into something that moved that kid away from, further trouble, that was what I was called to do.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you shared that story with us. Like, it would have had such a massive impact on his life, because here you were, you could have destroyed it, but you didn't. Like, you gave him a different option, right? So
Well, he provided me with the way he reacted to my questions and to his behavior. It was, hey, wait a minute, there's something else going on. I mean, it was in sort of inchoate, but there was something in the back of my mind that said, and in my gut said, wait a minute, this may not be the way to go. And it was, granted, I had, I did have the the arbitrary authority or the my oath allowed me the latitude. I mean, it wasn't a compulsory situation, but I had some discretion, and a lot of times kids aren't given that. I wasn't,
Yep.
and hopefully that young man learned something and went on, and it was that icebreaker moment in his life that woke him up.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I don't know. It could have been. I don't know. I don't, and in a way, I don't care because that was none of my business. My business was listening to a situation and making an informed decision,
Yep.
and not worrying about the future. So
Yeah. Well done, being in the present moment. Well done. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really important. And, that's another way you can begin to remove your defense systems is by helping others. Okay. Like if you see someone on the street and they look sad, you saying, "Are you okay?" or you smiling at them, that is like, it's giving love. Yeah, it's giving love to people. Keith, you gave that boy love in that moment. Yeah. And like you said, that little bit of love, it doesn't take much. It's a little bit of love. It's like crumbs of love can go such a long way. Okay. Like, don't ever doubt yourself on what kind of an impact you can have on somebody else's life. Yeah. So, let me ask you, is there fear present in moving forward in your life? When you think about moving forward, even in what we're talking about right now, even in going up to a stranger and saying, "How are you? Are you okay?" Or saying to the people at the coffee shop, "How are you today?" Is there fear around that? Ask yourself, is there fear around me doing these things? And if so, what's it about? So I want you to go ahead and write that down. What's it about? And Bonnie's just saying here, if you rip out the whole trunk, it will leave a bigger hole for you to fill, which is true. So it could create this massive void for you that can be super overwhelming. So that's a good point, Bonnie. Thank you for sharing that. So reflect on the fear. Is there fear that I'm going to be rejected? Is there fear that people are going to look at me like I'm weird? Is there fear that they're going to think, what does she want? What does he want? Yeah? Because if there's fear around that, that tells us that you worry about what other people think of you. So really important. This is a really important one because fear is always going to be present. It will always creep up no matter how much work you do. There'll always be some fear there. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of how we're conditioned, right? Just got to get good at understanding it and going, "Oh yeah, what do you want?" "Okay, no, I'm good. I got this."
fear of what other people think is, I think, the one of the most crushing events in our life. If we're always worried, and I've been there, if we're always worried about what other people think, we become so stuck that we cannot possibly move on. And what I've been learning of late is that most people aren't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
There's no, what I think and what I'm projecting isn't that's a false reality.
Absolutely. Everybody's so busy worrying about what other people are thinking of them that they're not worrying about, like, they're not even thinking about you, right? So that when people, sometimes you see that look in people's eyes and you're like, "Oh my God, they're judging me. They're looking at my shoes. Da, 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 da." They're probably in a completely different state, worrying about you judging them. Okay. And that is what I describe hell on earth. Yeah, when you are trapped in your mind of constant suspicion and worrying about what other people are going to think about everything you do and say, that is a type of hell that I can't even explain to you, right? And you don't realize how bad it is until you come out of that, until you pull yourself out of that. So that's a really, really important one. So, does the past tie in with the present? Everything that I've gotten you to write down, does any of that tie in? Yeah? And how? How does it tie in? How do your experiences from the past tie in with the present? So Leanne's just asking, if you get fearful, is that a part of the ego? So it could be. Yeah.
Could you repeat
The
the
question?
question? Please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get fearful, is that a part of the ego? Okay. So fear will protect you. Yeah. Now, if we talk about the wounded ego doesn't want you to change, wants to keep you the same, wants to keep you stuck, will protect you. Okay. So it is a part of the ego, but fear can also be, like if you're walking down the street and you see someone with bad energy and there's fear there, it's telling you to run. It's telling you to go in the opposite direction. Okay. So yes, there is a part of fear in the wounded ego. And often when with the subject we're talking about change, fear of change, yes, because the wounded ego is like, just keep going the same. Doesn't matter. You don't need to do that today. So this is what I find sometimes when people commit to doing the work, when it comes close to starting, they're like, oh, you don't need to do that. Don't worry about it. We're having a good day today. Today's a good day. See, maybe we don't need to do the program. Maybe I don't need to do that work. Maybe I don't need to confront that person. Maybe I don't, right? That's the wounded ego. But fear's always going to be there, especially around your sensitive spots. So if you have like a fear of flying, or you have a fear of confrontation, or you have a fear, whatever it is, right? It will always be there, but you don't have to let it overpower you. Yeah, so I had a fear of flying my whole life. I probably watched something on TV where there was a plane crash and it scared the shit out of me. And then my whole life I had a fear of flying, but it didn't stop me from flying. I kept on flying. And I went and saw a hypnotherapist and he did 3 sessions on me. And then I jumped on a plane and I flew to America. And initially, I was scared shitless. And I had my essential oils and I was tapping away and I was taking deep breaths. And then once the plane took off, I was like, this isn't so bad. I think I've got this. And then the lady next to me was having an anxiety attack because she had a fear of flying. So I ended up helping her with the oils and the tapping and all of that kind of stuff, right? But what I realized was that I'd cleared a lot of that fear. And the hypnotherapy really helped me. And I actually enjoyed my flight. I slept through most of it, which was a miracle. Yeah. So you can overcome. You can kind of almost like put the fear in a bit of a box. So it can still pop up, but you're just going to be like, that's okay. Go back. It's all good. I got this. Yeah. So you can use that fear to empower you. So finally, I want to talk about your emotional body. Now, your emotional body is so important, right? And often when we are feeling really shit and we're physically feeling lethargic and we get headaches and all of these physical things start to happen to us, what's the first thing we do? I need to change my diet. I need to exercise more. I need to go get some vitamins. I need to do a detox. But no one looks at their emotional body. And the emotional body has more power in it than your diet and your exercise and your vitamins. Like, it's good to do all those things, yes. But until you sort out your emotional body, you're not going to get to that really, really good feeling place. So this is where it's important that you look at the way you treat yourself. You look at the way you judge yourself, you attack yourself, because every time you say something negative about your current self or your past self, you're literally punching your emotional body in the face. Yeah, this woman represents, does she represent your emotional body? Is your emotional body happy and thriving, or broken and bleeding? Because I can tell you right now, when I was sick and I had my half paralyzed face, it was worse than what this woman looks like. I would have had cuts and bruises all over my face. My eyes would have been puffy from how much I attacked myself. Yeah. So important to begin speaking to yourself as if you were like a 2-year-old child, and you think to yourself, if I wouldn't say that to a 2-year-old child, I'm not going to say it to myself. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, starting now. So now I hope you have my voice in your head every time you go to attack yourself, saying, would you say that to a 2-year-old little boy or a 2-year-old little girl? And I hope you stop doing it, because in doing just this one simple thing, you will begin to feel better. Yeah. And you deserve to feel better, and you deserve to speak nicely to yourself. It's just that someone's taught you how to attack yourself in the past, and you've just carried it on into your adult life. But now it's time you start changing it. Okay. Okay. So this is the part of the masterclass where I'm going to talk about my program. I know that the program, some of you already signed up for the program, so I'm really excited to get you guys started in a week's time. So if you don't want to stay for this part of the masterclass, I understand. Thank you for joining me. But if you are interested in finding out more about my program, which is over 50% off today as well, please hang around and keep watching. If you do want to talk to me about what we've talked about today, if you want to jump on a 15-minute call and actually ask me some questions about the program, I'll drop the link in there soon. Or if you want to message me and tell me about your experiences coming to these classes, contact me on Anthea Spark, not Anthea Spark Self-Centered Coach. Contact me on my private messenger, which is Anthea Spark. You can also check out my YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can email me too if you do want to get in touch with me that way. So just before we go on, I just want to see if there's any questions about what we've discussed today. Lee's just asking, will you do a webinar on ego one day, please? Yes, I will do a webinar. I'll do a webinar on the wounded ego and how it affects our lives. So one of the topics we cover in this program that I'm going to talk about now is the wounded ego and how it affects you. And I remember when I'd done this subject, the wounded ego, on the last 16-week program, the people in the webinar, in the program, were a little bit shocked, because I literally went through every single way that we can embody the wounded ego, and it's brutal. Yeah, it can be brutal to think, holy shit, I have nearly all of those things going on for me. But what a beautiful thing it is to get that information, because then you can transform it. Okay. Yes, it can. Yes, this work can be brutal, but it's also going to set you free in a really profound way. So let me just see what else we've got here. Bonnie's saying, this is such a great meeting to listen to. Thank you both. So that's me and you, Keith. I'm so glad I ran across this evening. I know it's fate. I wonder how would one, pardon me, that has some very deeply rooted problems know how to begin to unearth them in a healthy way. Excuse me for one second. And also how to begin not to care about what others may think about you if you're an empath. I feel others' energy very strongly and it affects me whether I like it or not. Any tips on avoiding shielding that? So Bonnie, I do have I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's the Crystal Wall of Protection. It is designed for empaths. That's something you can do daily to protect yourself energetically. But to answer your questions about how to begin to, you know, unearth these issues in a healthy way, it is through, you know, the best way that I know, the best advice that I can give you is to begin to do the work slowly. And that's why I've designed this program. Yeah, the reason I designed this program is to help you do all of those things slowly. Keith?
Yes. Bonnie, I would suggest that instead of thinking of a big bucket loader that, you know, digs out, you know, a couple of cubic yards of ground at a time, think of a trowel. Think of what the when an archaeologist is sifting through all the dirt and everything that's accumulated. It's so that the valuable thing is not damaged, but the beautiful part of you that has been encased in all that dirt and so on is you can dig out around it by using a trowel rather than a shovel or some um, larger tool that will only be disruptive and destructive.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for taking over there. Okay.
You're welcome.
So I better not go on for too much longer because my throat is struggling. So I'm just going to move through this next part quickly, guys. So if you do have any questions, I will drop my calendar so you can book a time to talk to me about it. Okay, so here's what you get. In the Path of the Warrior, you get 16 one-hour group sessions with me. Okay, so they're live sessions. They're a lesson where we talk about the topic of the week and we discuss it as a group as well. Okay, you also get midway, you get some support sessions too. I think I ran about 4 in the last group and they were extras. Okay, let me just have a sip of water. You get guided meditations to help you reconnect to your inner child. This is where we move things in a profound way. You will also get an affirmation track to help reprogram your unconscious mind so that your unconscious mind can begin to support you to make the changes that you want. Yeah, we have worksheets as well. You get to be a part of a really supportive group. And it's through that group where you learn how to give and receive. And I teach you how to hold space for others. And I teach you how to have boundaries. And you practice this with each other, right? That's why it's good, because you actually get the practice in. We do a lot of letting go and burning rituals during the powerful moon phases. So you're going to be doing some emotional detoxes like the judgment detox and the no rescue challenge. So these are things we do throughout the program. Ultimately, this program is designed, it's designed to help you have a deeper connection with yourself, okay? Because when you do that, you'll start making different choices. You'll start making choices that empower you. So there are different topics each week. Yeah, and these are just some of the, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we remove the triggers. We learn to diffuse them. I teach you how to use your voice. Remove the need for validation, external validation, right? You'll learn how to express yourself, not just through words, but also through your own unique gifts in your home, in your relationships, in your work. releasing anger, welcoming self-forgiveness and self-acceptance, releasing shame and guilt. So shame, guilt, and anger are really toxic emotions for your body. They are the three key emotions that create physical illness. We'll talk more about that in the program, okay? So just to wrap up, this is today's offering, okay? So normally, this is what I charge for this program is $1,399. But if you book and pay today, you get the program for just over 50% off, which is $697 USD. So it works out to be $44 per session, okay? There is a payment plan option, and I'll send you the link for it in a sec. The program starts on Saturday, the 10th of April, which is exactly 7 days from now at 11 a.m. So today's webinar started at 11:30, so it would be 30 minutes prior to when we started today, okay? All sessions will be recorded and uploaded into a private Facebook group. So if you miss any of them, they are there for you to watch in your own time. And those videos are there for you to keep for life. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing that now, and I'm going to send you guys the links. So any questions, now's your time to ask them. Okay, so I'm going to put the links here in Zoom, and now I'm going to do it in Facebook. So Amanda's just saying she loves a good worksheet. Good, because you'll get many of them. Now let me just go into Facebook. So any questions? Thank you all for your patience.
Prayers for you to get well soon.
Thank you, Keith. Okay, and here's my calendar. So I've popped in the link for the program. And there is the link if you want to have a chat and you want to discuss doing the program. Pick a time. I have some times available tomorrow and we can discuss it. So let me just see if there's any questions. Bonnie's just saying, I hope you feel better. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jenny. Beautiful. All right, guys. So sending you all lots of love. It's so good to see your faces again and again, and keep coming to the webinars. So come to as many webinars as you want. They're all free. Yeah. You can learn a lot by doing all of the free stuff that I have online. But if you are ready and you do want to take your healing further, I invite you to come along and try the program or book in a call and we can talk about the program and see whether this is the right thing for you right now. Okay? So sending you all lots of love and I will speak to you all soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.